How's it going, everybody? HoodlumCallum here, and welcome to Debate 'Em All. This was originally something I uploaded over a week ago now, called Let's Argue, of course, inspired by Anthony Fantano's series Let's Argue, but I don't want to use his name. So I asked you guys on Twitter what you think would be a good name. And yeah, my friend El Cesar, he suggested the name Debate 'Em All. And it fits well with Pokemon. It's not too long, so I think Debate 'Em All is our ripoff of Let's Argue. So yeah, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Debate 'Em All, and today we've got some pretty scorching hot takes to look at. I'm still looking at some hot takes from the original thread, but I will probably make another one. So if you wanna follow me on Twitter, I think I'll try and do this as a weekly series. Essentially, if you don't know what this is, I post, I ask people for their opinions on Pokemon on Twitter. They give me some of their opinions, and I debate, I guess, in this video. I just talk about what I think about what they've said. I agree, I disagree. It's not an argument, it's a debate. Same thing. I don't know, man. You get the idea. So, first things first, we have Joe Merrick here. He said, Ash Greninja is a superior design to regular Greninja. Now, honestly, I think I am very much someone that agrees with a lot of things, and I think for the most part I will agree. I looked at the replies to his tweet. His tweet had like 400 likes. A lot of people, I guess, agreed with him, but the replies, a lot of people disagreed with him. I think it's like a 50-50 split almost as to people being in agreement or disagreements. For the most part, I agree. The only thing I don't like about Ash Greninja is the little sideburns of hair that Ash Greninja's got going on. I know it's meant to represent Ash's hair or whatever, but I just don't like that. But yeah, when it comes to Ash Greninja, I really do like the red cross on its head. I like I don't know what that is on its back, the X water shuriken thing. I don't know. I think it is overall a cooler design. I just the one drawback is the hair. I don't like that. Next up, we have MNJTV. He says, the Mystery Dungeon games suck. If you don't know, I am a huge fan of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon franchise, or the subcategory, whatever you want to call it, and I wholeheartedly disagree. Obviously, because I love them, and I'm biased to that extent. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team is probably like my top 3 favorite games of all time. My top 3 favorite games, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, and Pokemon Go. Those are my top 3 favorite video games. And, I've seen a few people say they don't like Mystery Dungeon. Joe Merrick is another one. The person, Cerebee's web host, I'm sure you guys know him. Joe mainly doesn't like them is because of how RNG heavy they are. And I guess his main argument to it is that they don't really appreciate your time. You can put a lot of time into it and just get blown back because of some BS. And I know it is annoying, and I will say the games could maybe be a bit more balanced, but this is also a side series Pokemon game. This isn't made by like the main developers or whatever. So I guess my argument to that is they probably just don't have the budget to balance the game like that. And I think dungeon crawlers is just not everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody enjoys dungeon crawlers. I definitely don't think the games suck though. I think the games are probably the best Pokemon side games. I like them more than Pokemon Ranger. I like Mystery Dungeon more than some main series Pokemon games, but obviously that's just my bias. Next up, we have Jake. Black and white graphics are so jarring and hurt my head. I love Black and White 2 so much, but the graphics don't look like Pokemon. I'm gonna have to agree. A lot of people really like the black and white graphics. I don't hate them, so to say, but I will agree that they are a little bit jarring. Like, going from Gen 4 to Gen 5 was very strange to me. I always preferred how Generation 4 looked as pixel art, and I do like a lot of the Pokemon Black and White's animated sprites, but the overworld looks strange, and it's definitely like whenever I'm playing a fan game that has the same style of Black and White's graphics, I'm just like, because I don't like how Black and White's graphics are overworld wise. My favorite sprite work from Pokemon is always going to be the 3rd generation, Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green. That's the best era of Pokemon in my opinion. True Green 7 says, Totem Pokemon are way more interesting and strategy based than gym leader battles. You can't just win by using a single super effective Pokemon. I lost to most of them. Yeah, I really liked Totem Pokemon as well. I just think the reason why people like gym leaders is just because it's, I guess, been a staple part of the games for so long. I do like Totem Pokemon to an extent. I don't really enjoy that there's, I guess, somebody in charge of the Totem Pokemon. I just think that's really weird. I would really enjoy if they kind of brought back Totem Pokemon in Sword and Shield, but made it more of like something in the wild, not something that you, I guess, maybe not as a replacement for gym leaders, but as something extra. So I would really, I like Totem Pokemon, but I don't really like them as a replacement for gym leaders. But yeah, for the most part, I think Totem Pokemon are harder than most gym leaders. Mimikyu and who else was it? Ribombee. Those are such hard totem battles. HeartGold, SoulSilver are the worst games that exist. They had a chance to fix low levels in Kanto. Would have loved to have had more Pokemon to use in the post game, but I felt limited. I don't like that I can only have the lead of my party follow me, and overall it didn't mesh with me like Crystal. Again, of course, this is just personal opinion and not objective. I guess from Kevy here, but I would personally say HeartGold, SoulSilver, they're not the worst games, but I will agree that they're not as good as everybody thinks. Like, there's so many people out there that HeartGold, SoulSilver, it's peak Pokemon. I disagree. I don't think so. And I will agree that it's because I also feel limited whenever I played HeartGold, SoulSilver. The levels in that game are just they're just way too low. And I think Johto relies too heavily on Kanto for it to be a good game. And Kanto side of the game in HeartGold, SoulSilver just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't as long as I would have liked it to have been. I think they should have made a few more things mandatory. I definitely don't think HeartGold, SoulSilver is as good as everybody makes it out to be. But then again, I didn't really play the original games when they first came out. I don't have the same attachment to Johto as a lot of older Pokemon players. So of course, this is just my personal bias. Pokemon didn't get easier. You're just not 8 years old anymore. People are misinterpreting this tweet a little. I don't mean Pokemon is as hard as it ever was. I mean, it was always easy. A lot of people mistake time-consuming grinding with difficulty. I definitely agree. Part of the difficulty in Pokemon is learning the type matchups, and once you learn your type matchups, the game becomes easy. You know, people expect way too much of Pokemon when it comes to difficulty. This is a whole other argument in itself, but like, people really want Pokemon to add a difficulty option to the games, and I don't think people realize that adding a hard mode isn't just like flicking a switch. They have to literally rebalance the whole game and make it harder, and even then people might not think it's hard enough, or people might think it's too hard, or like, I think opening the can of worms that is difficulty in Pokemon is just something that they don't need to do. So my argument to that is, if you want to make the game harder, use different Pokemon. There's 800 to choose from. Use Pokemon that are typically not so strong. And yeah, you know, if you want, people want difficulty and people want to also use their favorites, but like, the way I've always seen Pokemon is there's just so many creatures to use. I see the creatures as the difficulty sliders. Like, there's got to be a use for Watchog other than to be a shiny hunting Pokemon tool or whatever. Like, the use of Watchog is, if you want a challenge, use Watchog. I don't know, maybe that's the way I just see it, but I think that's the best way around difficulty in Pokemon. Pokemon definitely didn't get easier. Pokemon is just trying to be more accessible for new players, because the Pokemon games have a lot going on, and it's very intimidating for someone new coming into the franchise. The first trailer for Sword and Shield is a letdown because it looks like most of the same high-res Gen 7 game. Personally, I wasn't really that let down. The only thing that bugs me is the outlines on the Pokemon. I don't really like the outlines on the Pokemon. But besides that, I think the way the Pokemon games look is good, because a lot of people are like comparing Pokemon to Dragon Quest, and they're like, oh, Pokemon, why don't you look like this? You know, you've got the power to look as good as this. And it's just like, Pokemon should look like Pokemon. Pokemon shouldn't try and, I guess, look like something it doesn't need to. I think Pokemon has nailed how it should look in 3D, and I don't think there's really much need to change besides obviously getting higher quality. I don't know, Pokemon's got a style to it. I think that's where I'll end that, and I don't think it's a bad thing, really. All Pokemon are designed well. Just because you don't like how one looks doesn't mean the designers are uninspired and don't know what they're doing. Not all Pokemon are going to cater to you. Yes, this times 1,000. Just because you don't like the ice cream Pokemon doesn't mean it didn't have a lot of time and effort put into its design and concept, and, you know, like, they put it, the Pokedex entries that they have to come up with for it. It's not as easy as everybody makes it out to be. Like, genuinely, every single Pokemon has some sort of origin and idea behind it. Like, Voltorb is based off of the typical RPG mimic, and that's so cool. And I didn't realize that until a few years ago, but now I appreciate Voltorb because I know he's not just a Pokeball. He's meant to be based off of something that most RPGs have. Obviously, we've all got Pokemon designs that we don't like. Like, I personally don't like Garbodor, but I know it's not a poorly designed Pokemon. I just don't like it very much. Gen 2 had overall the worst designs. I think I'm going to agree, and I think it's mainly just because Gen 2 doesn't have that many Pokemon. Now, of course, Gen 2, okay, so it's 151, 100, and then you've got like 135, 136, then you have like 110. I don't exactly remember how much Gen 4 has. Then Gen 5 has 150. And then Gen 6 and 7, they've got like 70, 80-ish between them. Oh, well, not between them. They've got 70, 80-ish each. So between them, they've got like 160. So Gen 2, it doesn't have the least amount of designs, but it does have like the third least amount of designs. And obviously, 9 of those are the starter Pokemon. And then you've got like a bunch of the early route Pokemon. And then you've got a bunch of baby Pokemon in there. I think the baby Pokemon is what really holds back Gen 2. Obviously, Gen 2 has some good Pokemon designs in there. Like, you got Tyranitar, you got Scizor, you got Sneasel's great. There are a lot of good. There's a lot of good ones I'm not mentioning, but at the same time, I think the baby Pokemon hold it back. Ladybus sucks. Hoot, I don't like Hoot very much. And I think Gen 2 is like the most, or the least aesthetically pleasing for me. Like, when I look through a Gen 2 Pokedex, I just don't like what I see for the most part. Danger Moss says, Pokemon gets away with very little changes overall. Each generation barely differs from the last, and the series as a whole should be way more advanced in presentation and gameplay. It currently is. Currently on Gen 8, and people are actually surprised the water looks good. My argument to this is that, one, Pokemon, while it is the highest grossing media franchise, that isn't from the video games alone. Pokemon Go, a mobile app, has made more money than Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Sun and Moon, and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee combined. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure they have. I'm pretty sure Pokemon Go by itself beat those three, I guess, in earnings. So that's crazy, right? And of course, there's the anime, there's merchandise. Pokemon has got so much more going for it. I think the TCG makes them a lot of money as well. Like, Pokemon has got so much more going for it than just the video games. And the video games are made by Game Freak, which is a very small development studio. It's not on the same level as Sony or, any of these other companies. Pokemon has more going for it than the video games. And the video games, they could be more advanced, but I just don't think the video games make, I mean, they do make a lot of money, yeah, but I don't think they make as much as people think. Like, when you talk about Pokemon being the highest grossing media franchise, people forget about all the other extra things Pokemon has going on. They just immediately assume, wow, the video games make this much money and they aren't putting it back into making quality. Like, it's not as simple as that. Like, I think the reason why Pokemon games aren't as advanced as a lot of people want them to be is also because they have to make the actual Pokemon themselves. And the actual Pokemon themselves, that takes up a lot of time to make like a brand new designed Pokemon, give it an origin, give it a type, give it a whole moveset. Like, there's a lot going for Pokemon. There's a lot going on. And they make one of these games every year or two. I don't think focusing on the quality of their games is something that I think people give Pokemon way too much flack. The Pokemon games have got so much going on. I think they're doing an amazing job with what they're working with and how frequently they put out games. And yeah, the reason why each generation barely differs from the last is because people enjoy what it is. And yeah, they tried something different with Sun and Moon and had mixed reactions. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I think the reason why they don't try to differ too much is because what makes Pokemon is the 8 gym leaders, the Elite Four, the same evil team story. That's what Pokemon is. It's a standard now. And I don't know, if they definitely play it safe, but you can't blame them from playing it safe because Pokemon's 20 odd years old now. And if Pokemon just pull out all the stops now and make such a sick game that they can't really improve on it, it's, you've got to think about it from a business perspective. They're trying to make their franchise last for as long as they possibly can. They can't add too much stuff now because later on they won't have anything else new to add. You know what I mean? they've got to make their franchise last. And if they want it to last for another 20 years, they can only do so much every single game. I know that I want my kids to play Pokemon when I'm, in my 40s and my 50s. If I have kids, I want them to still enjoy Pokemon. I still want Pokemon to be releasing new games. So in order for them to do that, I think the way they're handling it is the right way, and people are just way too critical and don't understand that. And I think that's going to do it for today's Debate 'em All. Hopefully you guys like this series that I stole from Anthony Fantano. Again, shoutouts to him. I'll leave a link to some of his videos if you want to check him out. He's a music reviewer and he does a lot of debates on Twitter, and I thought I would try and do the same thing. So let me know what you thought on all the things that we touched on today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Give me some hot takes of your own if you want. I might reply to some of them in the next video. I'm going to try and make this a weekly thing, maybe every Thursday. So stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, and I'll see you guys next time.